everybody, and welcome. I'm going to give everybody just a couple minutes to get logged in here. I think everybody was probably just notified, but this training I think should be really good for anybody that is considering retirement sometime soon and may feel a little bit short when it comes to their ability to retire with enough money. If you don't know me, my name is Jason J. Hamilton. I am the founder of Keep It Simple Financial Planning, which is a registered investment advisor in Orange County, California. We do serve clients in California, but also nationwide. We have clients from here to DC, Florida, Michigan, Louisiana. So wherever you're at, there's a good chance we can help you out if you do have questions about retirement. So I want to thank you, first of all, for making time for this training today. If you are watching this at a later time than Sunday, June 3rd at 2 p.m. Pacific time, then I would encourage you, if you have questions, just to drop them in the comment section below, and I will be happy to do my best to answer those questions, okay? So I don't do as many trainings on this page as I do in my group, which is called Your Retirement Coach. So if you want to get more trainings on retirement specifically, then I would highly recommend that you do, I'll actually drop it in the comments later on, but if you search for Your Retirement Coach in groups in Facebook, you can request to join. It is a private group, but it is free, so there's no charge. So I would recommend being over there because I answer a lot more questions there. There's a lot more interaction when it comes to specifically retirement. But today, what I want to talk about is strategies to cope with a retirement shortfall, okay? It could just be a few $100s a month, or it might be a couple $1,000s a month. But what I do know is when you look at the surveys, about 76% of people are not feeling 100% confident when it comes to going into retirement. Okay, so that's why I do what I do, right? At the end of the day, my job is I'm here to help you out with that. And I think what we specialize in is really strategies for people that don't feel ready. Because if you had $10 million, really, you probably feel ready for retirement. You just don't know how to protect that money. But if you are somewhere between maybe $250 or maybe $2 million, depending where you're at, especially if you're here in California, that may not go as far as you hoped. And so having a good strategy to maximize that is something that we're really good at. So let me get into the training. I really want to help you guys out today. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want to give you some really good information to help you out, okay? So hopefully we can see this. I'm trying to verify. You can see everything on my page here, but it doesn't allow me to do that. So I'm really hoping you can see this. If anybody can give me a thumbs up if you see this, if I go back and forth. Yeah, it looks like it should be good. Okay, cool. So today we're going to talk about, let me do one more thing. Let me add my little face in the bottom here, okay, so you can see me there. We're going to talk about strategies to cope with a retirement shortfall, okay? Okay, that'll work. Okay. In today's economy, saving for retirement can be a big challenge for many people. And all honesty, if you have 5 or 10 years, you may feel a lot of pressure. And if you have less than 5 years, you may feel a ton of pressure. On this page, I know we have people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s, so you have more time, which is great. But if there's anybody here that's a little bit older, please tell these young folks that they need to do their best to save for retirement now, because it's so much easier when you're doing it young versus when you're a little bit older, okay? But let's talk about that. Saving for retirement in today's economy can be a monumental challenge. For those of you that are in California or other high cost of living states, just affording a house, let alone being able to save extra money for retirement, is a monumental challenge. I mean, where I'm at here in Orange County, the average house is probably $600,000 to $750,000. For a young family, I mean, it's pretty unreasonable unless you're in that, $180,000 to $200,000 plus category when it comes to income. If you're less than that, you might be feeling a little house poor and finding a little bit more challenging to save for retirement. So, but if you're in a lower housing cost, lower cost of living county or city, then that's good, but it can still feel tough regardless, because sometimes incomes are lower there. But, if you've just finished saving for things like your children's education, stuff like that, you might feel, again, like you're trying to catch up, but you can't control. You can control your financial future by identifying your retirement needs. So first of all, you need to identify your needs, so figure out how much you need to have saved by the time you want to make the leap to retirement, and then set up a retirement savings goal, right? So you got to have the goal. So once you figure out how much you need, then create a goal that you need to save annually based on your investment return expectations. And then really it comes down to making wise investment decisions now, okay? Many Americans believe that they'll retire on less than half of their annual income that they'll actually need to live comfortably in those golden years. So what does that mean? So many people think that they may only need 35 to 40% of what they're currently earning to retire comfortably. You know, this is a very general number, but it seems to be about 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income is what you need, you know, to maintain your lifestyle, because you're no longer going to be saving necessarily in 401ks, IRAs, things like that. You're no longer going to be paying into Social Security. Okay, so that's 6.2% if you're working for a company, or it's 13.4, or 12.4 if you're working self-employed. Plus, you're no longer paying into Medicare if you're not earning an income. So those things drop off the top of your required needs when it comes to replacing your income. So, 70 to 80% might be high. You may think you're gonna lower your your needs in retirement. But what I found is the first 5 years or so, 5 to 7 years, there's a lot of travel. There's a lot of things that people want to do. There's a lot of bucket list items that their spending actually increases a lot of the time, 5 to 7 years after their original retirement. And then we'll see a drop off, right? So sometimes it could all balance out, but I really have to have a good plan for that, okay? So, now is the time. It doesn't matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 65, 70. Now is the time to start planning for retirement if you haven't started planning yet. So you have to recognize that there's still a promise of success if you use some of these following strategies. And I'm going to talk to you about making up the retirement shortfall, okay? This little animation thing's a little bit crazy. It's giving me a headache, so I'm going to change to the next slide. I thought it was fun. So here's the big thing that I see folks missing a lot of, okay? You want to make sure that your assets are performing effectively, okay? And that means all your assets. It doesn't just mean your retirement accounts necessarily. It could be other things. Maybe you have a business. That's an asset. That's something you want to make sure it's performing at the most optimal place, because if you're going to sell that business, the more efficiently it's operating, the more you're going to get for it, right? And there's a lot of folks that are going to sell their business going to retirement, and so getting that completely optimized. It could be even looking at things like, your housing. Like, how's the housing in your area been performing lately? Is it keeping up with the values nationwide, or is it not? If you're in California, you're probably okay, but some areas are a little more depressed. But you really want to look at like your lowest performing assets. So things like, say you're looking at your portfolio, and right now, currently bonds have been a little bit of turmoil because interest rates are going up right now. So for those of you that don't follow the news, the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates, and they're going to continue to raise interest rates over at least this year and maybe the next couple of years, as they quote unquote feel the economy is back and fully operating at top efficiency. So that is going to be something you really want to look at when it comes to your bond portfolio. So usually your bonds are the stability part of your portfolio. Could even be CDs, right? Some folks have CDs where you have a fixed rate, but those are going to become less and less valuable as interest rates rise, because as interest rates rise, the bond values fall of your current bonds. So what I'm looking at when it comes to clients and their bond portfolios is keeping what are called short durations. Okay, so durations are essentially how long how long you have the bond until you get your original money returned back to you. So could be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Could be 30-year bonds. Interest rates are really high. 30-year bonds were great in the 80s when you could get 5, 10, 15, 20%. But now, those 30-year bonds are getting like 1%. And so you don't want to lock yourself into really long-term bonds right now. So I would say look at that part of your portfolio and consider a shorter duration if you're managing it yourself, or if you need help with that, let me know. So the thing you have to look at is, if you have all your money in something like CDs because you're scared of the market and you're scared to invest, there's a very, very good chance, almost a guarantee, that you're not going to keep up with inflation. Okay, if you're getting 1%, 1.5%, that money is not going to keep up with inflation. Okay, so if you're okay with that because you want to have very low risk, okay, but there's a consideration on the back end called longevity, where you may outlast your money, and you want to protect against that. So you want to have some money that's safe and protected for the short term, but then also have some money that is there for the longer term. Okay, that's going to keep up with inflation. But again, with higher risks, or excuse me, with higher returns come greater risk. So having a little bit of risk is something you need to be comfortable with, okay? The next thing you need to do is review your retirement budget. But, and this is a big but, do not compromise your retirement standard of living. It's pretty unreasonable to say that you are just going to go from one standard of living that you've been used to for 20, 30, or 40 years, and just because you retire, you're now going to drop it, okay? It's very unreasonable, and it might be a plan for disaster, to be honest with you. So when you are going through your retirement budget, you really want to make sure that you are detailing out everything, every single thing, because cars are going to wear out. Healthcare costs are probably going to increase for a little bit, at least the next 10 or 15 years until a lot of technology starts coming. You're going to have housing costs. You're going to have things like repairs that need to be done. And of course, travel and entertainment, right? So those things are probably going to go up because you're going to have a lot more free time, a lot more time to eat out, a lot more time to travel. So be very, very realistic with yourself when you're creating this retirement budget that you say that you can live off of when it comes to replacing, your current income. I'd say keep it the same for right now. And I'd actually say increase it for probably 3, 5, or 7 years. As long as you're healthy, you're probably going to be a lot more active, doing more travel. But after that time is when you typically see a drop-off in spending needs. So again, these are things that can be planned for, but you want to be very, very realistic with this and not live in the land of hope and dreams that you don't spend enough money and then having to fix it later. That could be a big problem for you, okay? Number 3 is move to a more affordable location, okay? So this can mean a lot of different things to different people. Moving can be very disruptive, right? It can be very disruptive because if you're in the same house for 20 or 30 years and all your family's nearby, it can be very disruptive for you to move even 45 minutes away. I was just having this conversation with a client the other night that, it sounded like a good idea to move 40, 45 minutes inland and sell their house, here in Orange County, and then move, again, 20, 30 miles, but with the freeways here, it could be at least 45 minutes or an hour. And what they found was that they just weren't spending time with family like they thought they would, and they ended up not having that relationships, that they thought they would in retirement. So, but here's the other side of it. If you move to a more affordable location, you may free up a lot of cash flow if you're able to sell your house and have hundreds of thousands of dollars extra. That's actually liquid money, not tied up in a house where you can't really use it. And you have that. Tickets on Southwest these days, or one of these airlines like that, are $200-$300 each way, right? So you may be able to do a lot more visiting and a lot more fun things if you add $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 to your retirement nest egg, because you do move to a more affordable location. And so something I would actually look into is communities, retirement communities, because being active, I think, is one of the things people forget about, and having things on the calendar to plan, to do, to keep your body moving. Because if you go from working, 8, 10 hours a day and you're moving the whole time, to go to that, to being stationary, just sitting on the couch or, trying to find things to do, that can actually be very harsh on your body. It can cause, your body to deteriorate very quickly. And so it's really important that you find things that keep you active. And if you're thinking about moving because your housing costs are still high, or your mortgage may not be paid off yet, or you need some money because your savings aren't that great, then considering a community, because usually you can buy a condo in there for a reduced price because they keep them lower for 55 and up. Or if you wanted to rent, you can keep all your money in your liquid assets and invest it over time and just pay it out of there. But they usually have a lot of activities, a lot of social gatherings, a lot of things to do to keep you moving around and keeping the joints loose, keeping everything oiled, as they say. If you remember from the Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man, what happens if you don't keep your joints oiled? You freeze up, right? And that's really what happens with human beings when we don't stay active and moving. So a big conversation I have when I'm working with clients about transitioning into retirement is to figure out what are you going to do so that you stay active and healthy and moving. Okay, really, really important stuff. All right, so next thing, do not overlook the other resources on your balance sheet, okay? I have an old car here. I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be at least 1 or 10 or 20 of you that are in this group or page here that have like an old classic car sitting around that you drive once a month or twice a year or something like that, that you're emotionally attached to, right? But this could probably bring in an extra 10, 20, 30, or $40,000 or more maybe, of income that you can use for retirement, right? So again, I'm not trying to pull your toys away from you, but the whole point of this step here, of this number, is to consider, other resources that may be on your balance sheet that you're not tapping currently. So something else to look at, maybe highly appreciated non-income producing assets such as, some stock or real estate. If you have real estate that's sitting around, maybe it's not producing the income you thought it would as a rental and it's more hassle than it's worth. Maybe you should consider selling that and taking your profits if it's appreciated a lot, and then putting something that's more passive, either part of your portfolio into an annuity of some sort, or some other sort of fixed income, or maybe a bond portfolio. There's a lot of things you can do, to generate some income that you can actually use and not have it trapped in real estate and having to deal with the headache of renters. So here's the thing, though. When it comes to those type of things, careful planning, you want to do these things very carefully, because you don't want to generate a bunch of taxes for yourself and have this huge tax bill. So you want to plan these things if you're selling them or moving them around in a very tax efficient manner to make sure that you don't either raise your income, and if you're taking Social Security early, you may get hit with extra taxes you weren't expecting, or you may get some things that hurt your Social Security income for now that you weren't aware of. So you want to do all these things and definitely do them in a strategic manner. The other things people don't think of are other valuable collectibles. Maybe some specialty items like antiques, dolls. For any of you that have Beanie Babies, or things like that are just sitting around a room full of stuff, you'd be surprised how much money you can get for it by listing it on a site like eBay. There's plenty of folks that are in retirement that use eBay as a second source of income, where they'll go to garage sales and go to estate sales, and they find little things that they can buy for $3, $4, or $5 and sell for $50 or $100. There's people that make easily $2,000 or $3,000 a month doing that part time. So, but you may have a whole room full of stuff. I know we all have that. Either it's a garage or room, it's somewhere that's full of stuff that you may be able to get rid of. Maybe some of it has some value. So you really want to think of that. Maybe it's an old stamp collection, coin collections that can be converted to cash. But I only want you to do this if you feel you can part with them, right? You want to evaluate their worth and what they might be worth later in retirement as well, if there's something that's appreciating a lot. But what I don't want you to do is give up your main hobby, if that's what you have planned to do to keep yourself busy. But, find the balance between looking at underutilized resources and your balance sheet, because these are things that can bring, if you can have an extra $10,000 or $20,000, that can mean a lot to some folks that are feeling short on retirement, or it could help you retire a year early, right? If you're making $40,000 a year right now, and we can get $40,000 from all the junk you have sitting around your house, and you can retire a year early, what's more important to you, right? We have to ask those questions. So really, really important. And here's the other thing, but I'm going to bring this up, but I want you to be very, very careful with this, okay? Home equity, okay? If you own your home free and clear, there's a topic of reverse mortgage that comes up, and I want to do another training specifically on reverse mortgages, because I think they do have their place, but they're very expensive, and in a sense, they have a risk to them, okay? I think that the number right now, that the highest value that you can get out of your house for a reverse mortgage is about $659,000. It's somewhere in that range. If you're in California, it's pretty easy to have a house worth $800,000 or $1 million. Well, you're not going to get the full value, out of your house if you were to do something like reverse mortgage to generate some monthly income. Whatever that number is, it's going to tap out at 659 is the last. I think that's what it was the last time I checked. So the most you're going to get is 80% of that as the loan to value until your payments stop. Excuse me. And if you are somewhere close to that, if you're at, and you still have to have about 45% of equity available below that number. So you have to have a lot of equity in your house to consider reverse mortgage. If you don't have any sort of heirs, if you don't have any other sort of need for this house, then maybe that's the right strategy. But you have to be considerate that, excuse me, reverse mortgages have massive fees to get started. They are coming down, right? But it's like at least a $14,000 insurance fee, last I heard, to insure the loan. And then there's a bunch of other little fees that go into it. But if all you're going to have to live on is Social Security and you have a very small portfolio and that's it, and that's all you have, but you have a house that you pay down on, that you own, or you have very, very high amounts of equity in, generating an extra $1,000 or $1,300 of monthly income can make the difference between you living comfortably and having enough, money for food and medical expenses, then a reverse mortgage might be something you want to consider. I don't sell this stuff. I don't sell insurance. I don't do any sort of this stuff. So this is strictly from, a fiduciary perspective that I think there's usually better ideas. I would advise you to possibly either refinance your house or possibly sell your house and move to a cheaper location before I say reverse mortgage. But if you want to be in your home, you have no heirs, and you have a lot of equity, then it might be the right move for you. But be very, very, very careful and get advice from somebody who doesn't sell reverse mortgages before you make this decision, okay? I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying they get paid by selling you this product so they can make it sound very, very good. And that goes with anything when it comes to annuities, investment, and things like that, insurance policies people sell, okay? Here's the one that you don't want to hear, okay? But we have to be really, 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 really honest with ourselves, okay? You may need to consider delaying retirement, okay? Each year you wait reduces the shortfall that you might have, and it gives you the chance to increase your savings. If you're making $60,000 a year or $80,000 a year, or a lot of folks I talk to are making $100,000 plus, that's $100,000 less dollars that you need to have in your retirement portfolio. And I know you're probably looking at me like this, rolling your eyes, right? But I don't always mean that you have to delay your retirement working the same job that you're currently working. Maybe you can find something else that you really have been wanting to do and try out, or maybe something that's a passion of yours that you would consider doing part-time even, because it can make a huge difference, not only to your retirement income needs, but you may also be able to delay Social Security for another year. So that may give you another boost, which then increases your income, which is for life, right? That's a big deal. And it also may give you some enjoyment, and the sense of loss of identity is a real thing when folks go into retirement. If you've identified as being the big boss and the big leader for 30 or 40 years in your company, and now you go to really not have anything because you sell your company and you're not working, there's an actually emotional case to be made for considering delaying retirement and doing something that brings you joy and value, and also earns you an income, right? So don't look at me with these rolling eyes. Please, please, please know this is coming from the best place, okay? But finally here, what I want to wrap up to say is there are always actions you can take to deal with the shortfall. There's always actions, right? This is why my company is a financial planning company, right? There are folks that just do investments in insurance, and that's great, right? We do that too. But there's so much more that comes into a comprehensive retirement plan, and when it comes to strategizing with folks that are concerned that they may not have enough money. And in all honesty, it's probably 76%, as the surveys are saying. So there's always things you can do where it might be cut here, it might be delay 1 year, it might be delay Social Security, it might be take Social Security early, or it might be pulling from your assets to do other things so that we can make your retirement plan work. There's so many things you can do, and there are always ways you can take, actions you can take, I should say, to deal with the shortfall, okay? And it's never too late. And it's never too soon. So if you're watching this and you're 30, it's never too soon, okay? Start the earlier the better. If you're 20, I have clients that are 20 years old that are starting their investing with my company because I want them to be successful, and they're going to be very, very well off, okay? But I also have clients that are 70. So don't worry about it. It's never too late, never too early, but you've got to do something. You have to do something to make sure that you're in a good place, because what may happen is you think you're going to pass away in 5 or 10 years after retirement. It's not likely, okay? If you guys saw the last training, there's a very good chance that you're going to live for 20, 30, or 40 years after, normal retirement age. And you want to make sure you have a plan that, at 83, you're not going to run out of money if you live to, 85 or longer. In closing, really sad to hear, but my grandfather passed away today at 97 years old, right? So he's 97. That's a really long life. And so for those of you, and he loved to eat, he loved to do a lot of active things, but he lived to 97, okay? And it's going to become more and more normal for folks to live to 97. So if you were to look at your situation right now, could you guarantee that you would be covered financially until 97? If you had the plan at $250,000 in medical expenses, and if you knew you had long-term care costs that were going to be $60,000 to $90,000 a year right now for 2 to 3 years, which is the average, could you guarantee you could cover that? If not, then here's what I have for you, okay? If you need any help with your retirement planning, I want to offer you to schedule a complimentary retirement strategy call with me personally, okay? On this call, it's complimentary, it's free, it's no cost. we're going to cover a few things, and I'm going to do my best to help set you up a step-by-step strategy for you to retire with confidence. The number one thing you're going to get for an outcome is, do you have enough money? How close are you to being in a realistic situation that you're in a good place to retire with confidence? Number two, we may talk about things like when's a good time to draw for Social Security for you, or maybe it's a Medicare strategy that you need to get covered if you're close to 65. And the other thing is, what are you going to do with your time, talents, and abilities once you leave your full-time employment? You know, you were put on this earth for a reason. Maybe you served your purpose when it came to your working life, but many folks just worked a job because it paid them well. If you are somebody who is looking to make an impact and looking to transition into serving your purpose in retirement, and you want help doing that, and maybe it's bringing your business online or getting a job locally, there's a lot, and let's be honest, there's a lot of discrimination that happens when folks are older. So we can talk about some strategies to make you look like an amazing candidate, even though you may be of retirement age, and to how to overcome those barriers that a lot of folks are facing these days when it comes to age discrimination, okay? So that's what I have for you. You can go to kisplanning.com/apply. I will put the link also in the comments of this video. If you need any help, let me know. But that's all I have for you today. You know, thank you so much for joining. It's been about 30 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time, but these are some ways and some things I think that would really help you think about planning for retirement differently. I'm going to go back to this screen here. All right, so thank you again. My name is Jason J. Hamilton. If you need anything, please go to kisplanning.com/apply. Schedule a call with me. It is complimentary. I'll spend about 45 minutes to an hour with you. We'll discuss the things we talked about. We'll help you create a step-by-step game plan. And if you want to do it on your own, wonderful. And if you want my help to help you put all these things in place when it comes to investments, estate planning, insurance, annuities, Social Security planning, Medicare planning, and just really cash flow planning to make sure you can retire with confidence, that's what I'm here to do, okay? Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions watching this later on, drop them in the comments. I will keep an eye out for you, and I'll do my best to respond to them. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.